Welcome back to Wrestling Talk. I'm your host, Alexis Carrillo. We are just a few hours away from the biggest weekend in wrestling all year. We as wrestling fans wait for this weekend to come up every single year. We count down the days, and now what we have to do is count down the hours to get to WrestleMania weekend. But we will get to that later on a different broadcast. Because today's show of Wrestling Talk, we're going to try and discuss everything that isn't revolving specifically around WrestleMania, specifically around the WrestleMania card. Because now we got to talk about Impact Wrestling, we got to talk about AEW, we've got to talk about NXT, we've got to talk about all that good wrestling that we seldom get to talk about during this type of weekend. So let's get right to it. And of course, we've got to talk about NXT's version of WrestleMania. They've called it that themselves. They keep mentioning on TV. It's kind of hard to believe because Stand and Deliver, I think their first edition was a year or 2 years ago, so that's debatable. But that's how they elected to sell it on TV, and they've put on quite a good card for this show. Now, unfortunately, these aren't like the old takeover shows where we used to have 4 or 5 matches that were really important, that went along and were hard-hitting, and they gave us a great show. Now we've got 7 matches on this card, which means some of these might be throwaways, some of these might be entertaining, but we've got to get into the fact that this is, at least as far as storyline purposes go, this is Tommaso Ciampa's very last appearance, very last match with NXT. Because at Stand and Deliver, Tommaso Ciampa gets to face off against one of my favorite gimmicks, one of my favorite characters on NXT TV, Tony D'Angelo. Hey. And needless to say, for the most part, you know my feeling on this. Tommaso Ciampa is the veteran. He has been the heart and the soul of NXT along with Johnny Gargano over the past 6-7 years. So, in my view, Tommaso Ciampa being the veteran, being on his way out of NXT and onto the main roster, at least in storyline purposes, he should be the one to put over Tony D'Angelo in this match. Now that seems like the most logical conclusion to this feud, to this rivalry. Really give Tony D'Angelo a boost in credibility and a boost in momentum heading into the rest of the year for NXT. But like I said, Tommaso Ciampa and NXT have been synonymous with each other for years and years and years. So this one in particular is a hard one. Logical choice says Tony D'Angelo wins, but sentimental, I want Tommaso Ciampa to go out on top and then show up on NXT this upcoming Tuesday night and give his goodbyes just like Johnny Gargano did. And then I wish Tommaso Ciampa the absolute best on the main roster. Hopefully SmackDown, because SmackDown right now needs a lot of help. We've got to get into the fact that we've got LA Knight, against Gunther, formerly named Walter. This is a very, in my opinion, my very honest opinion, it's a very random match. It's pretty much just to get these two men on the card, on the show, because LA Knight had quite a banger with Dolph Ziggler for the NXT Championship, but unfortunately nobody bought into the fact that LA Knight, was going to walk out the NXT Champion. Now LA Knight has, ever since his days in Impact Wrestling, ever since he made his debut back in 2015 in TNA Impact Wrestling as Eli Drake, I've been a fan of this man. His entertainment value on the stick, on the microphone, it's one of the best I've ever seen. Now, back in 2016, back in 2017, I hoped to God that management at Impact Wrestling opened their eyes and decided to really get behind Eli Drake and EC3 as the faces of Impact Wrestling heading into the future at that time. But they thought otherwise, and unfortunately they both got released, their contracts expired, and they left the company. Now EC3 is building up his own company and Control Your Narrative. Good for him. And LA Knight, yeah. Well, he's a focal point of NXT without ever being a champion in NXT. Unfortunately, I think LA Knight is going to lose to Gunther thanks to some interference from Imperium. I mean, it's the only way that this match and this feud and this rivalry goes forward. And like I said, LA Knight has the potential to be a top babyface for NXT moving forward. And what better way to get someone behind a babyface and have him face off against a faction that's always going to beat him down at every corner and have the babyface overcome that. I mean, that's storytelling 101. So with that said, Gunther walks out with the win against LA Knight. Yeah. Speaking of Imperium, they defend the NXT Tag Team Championships in a triple threat match. And with NXT, you can't go wrong with the Tag Team Championships. You can't go wrong with tag team competition because they always bring it. It's always the most entertaining match, if not, it's second or third, but it's always something that you got to pay attention to. And Imperium faces off against the Creed Brothers and MSK. Now, in my view, in my opinion, there's only two options to walk out of this match with the tag titles. And as much as I love MSK, Nash Carter and Wes Lee, they have absolutely no chance of walking out of Stand and Deliver as NXT Tag Team Champions. They don't. It doesn't make sense to put the championships back on them when you've got an even better tag team, an even hotter tag team in the Creed Brothers. You got to build up their momentum. They've already got beef to settle with Imperium. Imperium's already settled their business with MSK. That's not needed. MSK, for all intents and purposes, in this match is here to bring the high spots, the entertainment value in this match. Because both Imperium and the Creed Brothers are ground and pound tag teams. They stick to the ring. They're wrestling 101, wrestling basics. So you gotta insert a different flavor there to make it exciting, and that's MSK for me. But if I had to pick one, who's gonna walk out with the NXT Tag Team Championships? I think there's no better moment to put the Tag Team Championships on the Creed Brothers than now. They already won the Dusty Classic. It's time for them to win the gold and truly start to establish themselves as one of the best tag teams on NXT and one of the best tag teams to looking forward for the main roster on WWE. So my pick is the Creed Brothers. Speaking of the Women's Tag Team Championships, we've got Toxic Attraction defending their NXT Women's Tag Team Championships against the reformed team of Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. There's a lot of things wrong with this match. First and foremost, it's been a year or maybe even less since Dakota Kai betrayed and turned her back on Raquel Gonzalez on NXT. It hasn't even been a year. I'm pretty sure that it hasn't even been a year since that happened. Now, they're besties again. They're tag team partners again. And there's a pretty high chance that they're going to walk out of Stand and Deliver as a new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. Which to me is a problem because, like I said, Storytelling 101 dictates Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai should not have reunited this soon. It's just too soon. So if it were up to me, I'd keep the titles on Toxic Attraction. You need to give them some momentum as tag champs. So with that said, Toxic Attraction beats the reformed team of Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. I don't know what's going to happen in that match, though. It might end up going the other way. We've got ourselves a fatal four-way match for the NXT Women's Championship. Mandy Rose defends her championship against Cora Jade, Io Shirai, and Kaylee Ray. Now, fatal 4-way matches, they can go all directions in terms of who walks out with the winner, in terms of who walks out the champion. It might just be a case of wanting to protect one of these stars. But if I had to pick one of the 4 to take the pinfall in this match, regardless of the winner, unfortunately, I think Cora Jade is the one that's either going to tap out or going to get pinned during this match. She's the one who has the least to lose if they get pinned. Because she's an up-and-comer. She's young. Yeah, people are behind her. There's a lot of fans out there that want her to be NXT Women's Champion. And if this was a singles match, Mandy Rose versus Cora Jade, it'd be a lot higher of a chance for her to walk out with the title. But because this is a 4-way match with 3 superstars who are all in a higher ranking, in my view, this is just my view, than Cora Jade, I don't think she walks out with the title. And I think the best way to continue Toxic Attraction's dominance of NXT is to either have Mandy Rose retain the championship at Stand and Deliver by pinning Cora Jade, or have Kaylee Ray pin Cora Jade to become the new NXT Women's Champion. And then during the next few weeks on NXT, Mandy Rose can come out and say that she wasn't pinned, that Kaylee Ray did not beat her for that championship, which leads us to the singles feud that we all want to see. Kaylee Ray versus Mandy Rose. And like I've said in the past, Io Shirai and Cora Jade, they're there for the high spots. They're there for the exciting moments of the match. They're there for the fan favoritism that they get from the fans. So we'll just see what happens. But if I had to pick one, Kaylee Ray walks out new NXT Women's Champion. We've got ourselves a fatal 5-way ladder match for the NXT North American Championship. The very same ladder match, the very same stipulation that the North American Championship came to be decided, but was it 4 years ago? And now, the man that don't miss, the self-proclaimed A champion, Carmelo Hayes, defends his title inside a ladder match against Santos Escobar, Solo Sikoa, Grayson Waller, and Cameron Grimes. And if I had to pick one of these 5 men, okay, I'm not gonna do that just yet. But Santos Escobar, he has Legado del Fantasma. I think it's time for them to go up to the main roster and pose a real threat to the Mysterios. I like what they did on NXT a few weeks ago. So, you know, if it were up to me, if I were booking NXT, I'd have Santos Escobar lose this match and then eventually, very soon, have him go up to the main roster and challenge Dominic and Rey Mysterio. Give us something exciting involving them for a change. You got Solo Sikoa, who is, I think, he's proclaimed as a street fighter of NXT. Could very well become a fan favorite very soon. He has that potential. He has that look that a lot of people like. And he has that I don't give a shit attitude that I like personally. So, but is it time for Solo Sikoa to become NXT North American Champion? And do I see Solo Sikoa against Carmelo Hayes in the very near future? Not yet. You got Grayson Waller, who thing in his power to get noticed on NXT TV, and he has. But as much of a star as they book him to be, I don't think it'd be the most intelligent move on WWE's part to have him be champion and then go up against Carmelo Hayes, unless they plan to turn Carmelo Hayes babyface, which would kind of make sense. It could make sense because, like I said, Carmelo Hayes' swagger, the way he carries himself, the way he speaks on the microphone, and his in-ring style, that all gives us a very charismatic, very cocky, babyface that fans can get behind, or, he says the wrong thing once and the fans might turn on him. So who knows? Then we got Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes is the feel-good story for this match. If he walks out the NXT North American Champion, the crowd's going to pop like nothing before. But I don't think he walks out of this with a title. It's not viable, in my opinion, but he is second in my choices to walk out with the title, so hopefully he might. But I give it to Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes retains the championship. And finally, we've got the main event of the night. Dolph Ziggler defends his NXT championship against Braun Breaker. And excuse the pun, but this is make or break for Braun Breaker. Dolph Ziggler was put in this position because he's a veteran in the ring. He can sell like no one else on the main roster, like no one else pretty much in the wrestling industry. He's technical, he's a high flyer, he's a heel magnet. He's everything that a heel needs to be for a babyface like Braun Breaker to overcome. So on that basis alone, WWE and NXT played their cards right. Even with the fact of giving Dolph Ziggler the NXT Championship, they played it right. Ziggler pinned Ciampa, which protected Breaker. Now Breaker, the babyface, has to get his title back, and what better stage to do it than on the biggest stage, that's what they're calling it, the biggest stage in NXT's calendar year. Stand and deliver. The stage is set for Braun Breaker to walk out as NXT champion once again. And I'm not going to color code it. That's exactly what's going to happen. Braun Breaker ends Stand and Deliver as a two-time NXT champion. And very, very soon he's going to make his debut on the main roster. And he's going to be fast-tracked to be one of the top stars for WWE in years to come. I have no doubt in my mind, unless something incredibly stupid happens, that's what's going to go down. But those are my Stand and Deliver predictions. I think the big money shot at the end of the show is Braun Breaker with the NXT Championship. What do you think about that? What do you think about my predictions on the entire show? I'm sure you have a different set of winners for all of these 7 matches, but I can guarantee you this, it's going to be a hell of an entertaining show. Dallas is always a great crowd, especially for NXT. You know, NXT brings out the most rowdy, hardcore wrestling fans out there, so I'm definitely looking forward to catching this show on the replay, because unfortunately, during this entire WrestleMania weekend, I have to work, so at my day job, but I will definitely catch it on the replay. And if you, as a wrestling fan, have the chance to watch this live, you're not going to want to miss it. So go right ahead and leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comment section below. Excuse me. And recently, Randy Orton made a few comments that might have rubbed people the wrong way. Over the past few weeks, it's the same thing. And we've talked about this on this show a lot. And I keep on saying Storytelling 101, Wrestling 101. Because it all makes sense. Because that's what wrestling has been since 1984, at least in my view. It's been sports entertainment. It's been about writing characters in a very simple way to tell very simple stories that fans can relate to and get behind. That to me is psychology in professional wrestling. Psychology in sports entertainment. And Kurt Angle and Randy Orton have both come out during the past week and they said different words about the same topic. And that is that today's wrestlers in NXT, in AEW, and even on WWE's main roster, they don't quite get the art of what wrestling is, which is the art of storytelling. And I agree with them. Because just like they said, Kurt Angle said, and these are his quote, I don't have the direct quote with me, but I'm paraphrasing here. He's saying that wrestlers aren't thinking about selling. They aren't thinking about telling a story in the ring. They're thinking about their next big spot during the match. That's what they're thinking. They hit a drop kick, they hit a swanton bomb, they hit a moonsault. They get right back up. They don't sell anything, and they get right back up to a super kick, and it's entertaining at first. It's a shit show to watch on TV because you're not selling, and it devalues each move every time you do it. And Randy Orton himself said, and these are very explicit words, he said that he's worked with a few of the NXT stars that have come up to the main roster, and he said, again, I'm paraphrasing here from Randy Orton, he said, some of these NXT stars don't know what the shit they're doing. And I might agree with them. Because currently the Performance Center is built for athletes. It's built to train. Like you're in the gym, you're doing reps, you're working out, you're trying to put on the most athletic performance in the squared circle you possibly can. But that can also take back from a match. The same thing with AEW. Every time I see a tag team match in AEW, I just sit back and just watch. It's like watching a car crash. Two guys over here, they're about to do a move. Okay, they hit the move. Okay, here comes another guy. Another move coming. Hits the move. Oh, a guy from the top rope. Gonna do a crossbody. That's hit the move. Oh, super kicks. My God, with super kicks. I started watching wrestling in 2005. So a super kick to me, growing up, there was only one super kick to me. And that was HBK's Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin Music. And for better or for worse, that move, Sweet Chin Music, that super kick, either put you down for the count or was so late during the match that if someone kicked out from it, it caused an uproar. That's a super kick to me. And unfortunately, guys like the Young Bucks and guys like, there's a lot of independent wrestlers out there that have devalued that one move for me. So now, every time I see a super kick, it's cool. It look cool. It's not going to mean shit. And that sucks. So today's wrestlers, instead of going out there, putting on a great show and putting on great storytelling, where they get hit by a move, a high-hitting move, a finisher, and instead of selling it, they just move on to the next spot. And the same thing with whoever made the move. They make the move and they hit a pile driver, which usually should also take you out. And instead of going for the cover, they try to hit an even higher move. Try to increase the shock the shock moment, the shock factor. What the hell? I think that's an art that's been lost in today's professional wrestlers. Will that change? Doubt it. There's too many of them. There's too many, like Matt Hardy would say, there's too many spot monkeys. All the old era of the Attitude Era, of the Ruthless Aggression Era, they're all gone. They're all retiring because that's how time works. And maybe 10 years from now, that's what's wrestling going to be. High spots here, high spots there, train wreck here, train wreck there. I'm just going to stick with it, you know. That's the cycle of life, but it's not my cup of tea. So hopefully both of you wrestlers work on their psychology. They work on actually telling a story in the ring. But I'm sure a lot of you wrestling fans out there know and love the style of in-ring competition that everyone out there, most of the people out there, are putting on TV these days. So if you do and you have different comments from my own, like I'm sure you do, go ahead and leave them on the comment section below. And speaking of very basic, very good storytelling, we've got to get into one rivalry, one feud that's coming up later on this month in Poughkeepsie, New York, where the current Impact World Champion, Moose, is defending his Impact World Championship against former champion and in-ring badass walking weapon Josh Alexander. And to me, the very basic storyline, the very basic story that these two characters are telling on TV, on Impact Wrestling TV, week in, week out, even outside their weekly show. It's just a masterpiece. It's masterful. Now, there are some issues with Impact Wrestling's in-ring style as well. They do have a lot of spot monkeys. They do have a lot of crash professional wrestling. But the fact of the matter is, Moose is the current world champion. He is Mr. Impact Wrestling. He is the top guy in Impact Wrestling. He lets you know that every single week, every single time he's on TV. But in the past, he's done some very diabolical things. He turned on Eddie Edwards, his best friend at that time, at least for storyline purposes, and joined the man that he lost to during the Slammiversary main event of 2018, Austin Aries. After which he proceeded to kidnap Eddie Edwards' wife, of course, in storyline purposes. And now, Moose just takes guys out. Not only guys, he took out Josh Alexander's wife at an independent wrestling show. And that is such a basic, beautiful, masterful, genius heel 101 tactic. Because the spear that Moose gave to Jade Chung with Josh Alexander and their son in the ring caused a lot of hatred in the IWC, as it should have, as was their intention. And now, the genius of Moose is, Moose doesn't have to worry about getting out-wrestled by Josh Alexander at Rebellion. Because for the most part, Moose knows that Josh Alexander is a better professional wrestler than he is. And if it was a one-on-one straight-up wrestling match at Rebellion, 9 times out of 10, Josh Alexander walks out with the title. He beats Moose. But because of his actions during that independent wrestling show, Josh Alexander is pissed. He's enraged. He just does not want the Impact World Championship anymore. He does. He wants to take that away from Moose, obviously. But he wants to get revenge. He wants to beat the living crap out of Moose for what he did to his wife, for what he did to his children, for what he did. Which, in his mind, and obviously in every other wrestling fan's mind, was out of line. And to me, that's masterful storytelling on Impact Wrestling. And that's a match, that's a main event that I'm definitely excited for. And I'm going to hold up my prediction for this main event until we get to that show at Rebellion. But we just started April. So I'll leave it for you to decide. Who do you think walks out Impact World Champion? What do you think about the rivalry? What do you think about how Impact Wrestling is building up to this match so far? And in the meantime, you can tune in to Impact Wrestling show tonight in Multiverse of Matches. So with that said, leave your comments and predictions on the comment section below. And it's time to get into two very simple topics regarding All Elite Wrestling. Number one, there were discussions, reports, rumors this past week that MJF and Tony Khan got into a heated argument, a heated discussion backstage during Dynamite during the past few weeks. Why? One very simple reason. Well, two very simple reasons actually. Number one, it's being reported MJF is not happy with his contract, which expires on January 1st, 2024. And he said it himself. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, who is in the middle of a very personal feud with Wardlow, very entertaining feud that's going to build up to Double or Nothing, no doubt about that. But MJF said it himself. He's not re-signing with AEW. He's not signing a contract extension until January 1st, 2024. He's going to milk that for as much as he possibly can, not just for money, not just for attention, but just for the heck of it, and just because that just fits his character so damn well. He said that multiple times, and he said that during an interview, which apparently AEW's PR team and Tony Khan did not pre-approve, which is where the heated discussion, the heated argument came from regarding AEW, Tony Khan, and MJF. That's the heated argument. That's the dispute. Apparently, Tony Khan was not bothered by MJF's comments. He wasn't bothered by that. He was bothered by the fact that MJF went ahead and did an interview without running it first by AEW's PR team. And Tony Khan was worried that that would set precedent and that any of their stars, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, Jay Lethal, Brian Cage, Wardlow, Hook, Jade Cargill, Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, anyone, you can mention them all. He was worried that any single one of them could just go into any interview show and just talk about whatever they wanted to without AEW's approval. And you know what? They're both in the right. MJF, he can run out his contract up until 2024, wait for the offers from WWE and from the offers from AEW to come in. That's perfectly fine. That's business. MJF owes nothing to Tony Khan. He owes nothing to AEW. You're running your business. You're a businessman. You do that, albeit. And Tony Khan is in his entire right to be mad at the fact that MJF decided not to run it by his AEW PR team. But here's where AEW is in the wrong. Because it's been said in the past by multiple stars who have worked at both companies at this point. WWE is very, very micromanaged. They take care of every little single bit of information that they can. They will micromanage you to the bone. Because they are a machine, and that's what's worked for them for the past decade, for the past 2 decades. Whereas they also mentioned that AEW is a little bit more free with their stars. There's no booking team. There's no writing team. There's no writers in AEW. Which means that most of the wrestlers do what they want. Tony Khan walks up to them before the show, tells them, here's what you're doing. Hit this note, hit that note, hit this, hit that. Make sure you specifically hit this because this is important for the rivalry that we're building for you. Other than that, the rest is entirely up to you. And because of that, that also goes to the management team. AEW isn't as micromanaged. And that's something that they have to learn. They're into year 4 of their company's founding. So that's something they have to learn. That's something, and like I said, they will learn from this. They will absolutely learn from this. Because now, this is set precedent for the AEW roster. Tony Khan is pissed at MJF because he didn't run it by the AEW PR team. Fine. There are a lot of wrestlers backstage at AEW that don't want to get any heat. So now, All Elite Wrestling and Tony Khan and their PR team are gonna take care of that issue. So ultimately, all this resulted in a good argument that solved a lot of issues and created very little problems, which is what you want. And the second topic I want to talk about with AEW, just to bookend this show so we can get into talking about Wrestlemania, is the fact that AEW does not have a streaming service. It doesn't seem like they're going to have a streaming service anytime soon. Even though Tony Khan has talked to Warner Media and he's talked to multiple media outlets in terms of, he's working on getting the AEW library and the Ring of Honor library on streaming so that us as wrestling fans can watch it on demand. He said that multiple times in the past, and we're still waiting on that announcement. Hopefully it comes soon. But it does hurt AEW that they don't have a streaming service. That they don't have, that ultimately, if you want to watch All Elite Wrestling, if you want to show a new wrestling fan, or even a casual wrestling fan, what AEW is all about, you give them two options, and that's it. Watch them live on TV, on TNT, on Fridays, or on TBS on Wednesdays. Watch them live. Or you have TNT subscription service or Hulu, and you're able, like the premium version, and you're able to watch those shows back. And talking from personal experience, I don't currently have the funds to update or upgrade rather my Hulu subscription to the point that I could watch both Rampage and Dynamite in its entirety on Hulu. Mostly because, I watch it on YouTube and they put 8, 9, 10 minute segments for the most part, the good stuff that AEW has to offer. So, am I really going to shell out another $50 on a monthly basis when I'm running on a budget? Not yet, not now. But, if they came out with a streaming service which had AEW and Ring of Honor's tape library, and it also had the option of watching Rampage and Dynamite a few days after it aired for $13.99, $15.99, whatever you want to call it, under $20. I'd be fine with it. I do that with Impact Wrestling. I do that with WWE. I'll do it for AEW when that happens. But until then, I'm gonna stick to the AEW YouTube channel because, like I said, they put on a few videos that really just serve my purpose for what I want to do up until now for this moment. But until then, what do you think? Do you think AEW is taking way too long in rolling out their streaming service, or would you rather they just stick to what they're doing right now and really take some time and not have like that issue with WWE and Peacock where they're, Peacock, it's kind of like, it's a subpar service or subpar, how do I put it, like management or subpar, don't really have the word right now, but it's not as user-friendly as the WWE Network used to be. That's how I'm going to put it. So with that said, leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comment section below. Tune into TNT later on tonight to watch Rampage. Tune into Fox to watch SmackDown, the Go Home SmackDown show, where we have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, That's a match that I would not want on the WrestleMania card. Just personal opinion, I don't think it's needed. And we have a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship, which I think is stupid as hell because WWE's mid-card titles and mid-card champions are not on the WrestleMania main card, which is stupid on WWE's part. So with that said, I'll just leave it at that. I've been Alexis Carrillo. Enjoy your weekend. Watch WrestleMania. Watch Stand and Deliver. Watch multi-verse matches. Watch all these wrestling. It's the biggest wrestling weekend of all year. Enjoy it. See you next time.